Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. The second Wasteless World Talks of the year 2024 are here, and today we have a special topic again. We will speak about normalization, and I'm sure it will be a very interesting discussion. And today I will start with Bill because he's on the top on my screen. So Bill, if you close your eyes, and I say the term normalization, what do you see?
You are scaring me. That word is scary because it means that we're going to change something, we're going to change to the way somebody thinks is normal. So first we have to define what is normal. And then we can talk about changing everybody to one person's definition of normal.
Okay.
I don't think there is any normal. I think it's a word that has it has meaning, but I don't think anything's normal. I don't think you are normal. I don't think I am normal. Kevin is certainly not normal. So what are we going to change everybody to?
Thank you for this. And Kevin, your turn.
When I think of normalization, I think of one of the least pleasant human survival instincts, which is to be able to put up with anything and make that situation normal. So the current situation in Gaza should never be normalized, but we're getting used to it. The situation in Ukraine is becoming normalized when it shouldn't. And it must be some way to help us survive way back when we needed to adapt quickly to extremely unpleasant situations. But it's not a useful attribute for modern society.
Thank you both. And generally, how I came to this term, first there was a norm. So norm as something which should be normal in a way in the industries and so on. And then I remember that in my country, there was a normalization time. It was when the communists take over and they try to make communism normal as a norm generally. And it was not a pleasant time for many. So especially for the non-communists, it was not a pleasant time. And in 5 days starts Davos 2024. And do you know what is the topic or the main motto? I will tell you, but I have to open it. It is, I have it. I just wrote it a few minutes ago. Let me check. Because it's really, and you will laugh, I'm sure, because they said they would like to rebuild trust.
Good luck with that.
This is the content, and I have to laugh because, how do you want to rebuild trust which was never there? So, and this is how I came to normalization. And I'm sure we will speak through normalization, we will come to uniformity, because it seems to me that they are very close, these terms.
But don't you think they want to rebuild trust between giants? I'm sure it has nothing to do with us at all.
They didn't tell that, but a crazy part. Just an hour before this talk, I received a message from a chief finance editor of LinkedIn. And he asked me to write my opinion about Davos 24. So I did. I think it will be deleted, I'm not sure. But it is there. And I reported that I said already what I need to say. I said it 2020. And there has been published 2 articles. One called Davos, the highway to heaven or the slides to hell. And the second, which followed a few days later, was named, I think, the true price of Davos, something like that. So, I think that Davos is one of the last ones. And I think that World Economic Forum is close to the end. And this is what I stated in this short post on LinkedIn. Because I do fully agree with what Bill says, that there is no normal. And I will be very sad. You know, none of us is normal when we meet for more than 1 year and talk very strange topics every single week. And we enjoy it. That's the least normal thing which is expected today from human being.
And I do not agree with everything that you say, Michael, and I certainly don't agree with everything that Kevin says. And yet we can discuss it and we can see other points of view. And we're not trying to put our worldview on the other guy. But that's what normalization means, I think, is come up with one worldview and make everybody accept it.
Yeah, and it's not rebuilding trust, it's reinforcing oppression.
Yes.
That's the right term, generally. So and you know, if you watch the media this year, if you compare it for 5 years ago, 2 months before Davos, every media has been full with Davos and everybody was announcing he or she will be there. We have 5 days to Davos. There is nothing in media at all. Very similar last year, but last year they started 14 days before. I think Google started somehow, somebody from this giant pool. But 5 days and nothing at all. Great.
It's what they deserve. I think that starve them of media and oxygen. That, you know, we got bigger worries these days than what they're going to say in Davos. I mean, their day has come and gone.
It's meaningless. I didn't even know it was coming up until you mentioned it, Michael.
Nobody knows, you know, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I'm so happy about it. To be honest, I'm so happy.
And then the next to go can be COP, because we don't need that either.
And you know who is the new president of COP29?
Yes, I
This
saw that.
oil.
The oil minister from Azerbaijan. Who chooses these people?
I think the government of the country, or somewhere, who is on the power at the country.
Does the UN pick who the next one's going to be? Who picks
Don't
them?
think so.
I think that the oil producers must pick them and tells the UN who they're going to have.
It's ludicrous. If for no other reason, the optics of this are so bad, and yet they keep doing it. Why?
Because there is no responsibility, you know. They have no they can do what they want, and this is what they show. And exactly this year, last year, COP was the proof they can really do what they want. So they will keep doing it.
I think they can do what they want. They do not understand that they are dying. They do not understand so much, and yet they just keep on doing it. And they keep convincing themselves that this is good. Their definition of normal, and they don't see it. That's what surprises me, is they don't see it. They don't understand that they are dying. They don't understand that there are voices out there who are questioning their authority and changing things. And the world is changing, and they don't understand it.
Who is it? The World Economic Forum that arranges Davos, or is
Yes.
that something different?
No. It is World Economic Forum. They have their own president, whose name I just forgot, whatever. But this is their own private. Generally, this is a private event, so they organize it. But you have to pay a lot of money to be there. So I don't remember the prices, but quite high prices.
I don't think we'll be invited anytime soon anyway.
I tried a few times and I was rejected the same like by United Nations and COP and so on. So, I would prefer to go on my unicycles through the frozen city of Pilsen than to go on a ski in Davos. And the only who will suffer really after Davos will end, I mean this event will end, will be the Davos businesses, because in 1 week, they generate the money for the rest of the year. So they have to look around for something new.
Do you know what is the goal of the World Economic? Why do they exist? Besides to make money for themselves. I mean, but what is their stated goal?
Generally, it's stated on the website. I cannot say. If you look for it, it's not. It is the address. VE Forum, I think. VE Forum, WE Forum, I think is the website. And it is stated, I do not remember because it's a lie the same as the other lie. So
yeah, you can close your eyes and guess that it's going to be all about the advancement of mankind and
right.
saving the planet.
Getting on the power, being on the power, maintain on the power, not understanding that without the small people around, they will not survive simply because they will not be able to bake the bread, eat the whatever, they will not be able to. And because, as I said a few years ago, they are dead already. So they don't need the bread anymore. So it's just the, how it's called, velocity of the movement of the giant, which is falling same slow as it was moving. So for me, it's a clear indication. It's really the end of both. And probably, I hope, it will be the United Nations as well, because it does not work. We touch it many times, so it's not needed to speak about it. And uniformity for me, I do remember The Wall from Pink Floyd, the video. That was so powerful, so powerful. I recommended everyone to watch this simple video, or how it's called, on this song, The Wall, which was generally, I was there when the Berlin Wall was falling down and on the concert of Pink Floyd. Unbelievable, unbelievable, so strong.
But when was the last time you felt the same way about anything done by the United Nations, anything done by COP, anything done by any of these organizations which are meant to do good, but only frustrate?
So you see, the uniformity in this was that the giants create the new uniforms. And they put us in the uniforms. And I have a very interesting discussion at the noon with Pat, generally, who was, for 20 years, she was a nurse. And she knows personally Patch Adams. And she made with him part of the tour in Australia, 14 days or so, 3 weeks. And she said it was so strange to switch from the nurse uniform to clown uniform. Because the one was restricting, the other one was giving the freedom. And we came to the conclusion, today, if you ask someone whether he or she likes clowns, many people don't, because of all these horror movies and so on. So it looks like that something which should bring pleasure and happiness was hijacked, turned into movie to something that you scare of. So the same like the terms we are discussing. Very interesting discussion, that uniform can act in a way to suppress us or to give us the freedom because we are in some way anonymous, but in some way happy or whatever. So it was very interesting talk.
I've been working on my latest book. It's work of fiction, but it's about how at the end of World War I, 38 men controlled the world economy. And of course, they only controlled the world economy for their own benefit. And it's interesting, at the moment, I'm writing about the revolution in Berlin in 1918 and 1919, when instead of revolution, they were given democracy. Not that the Germans wanted it, but here it is, you've got it now. And the one thing they were promised with democracy was their own voice. But democracy was only for the voice of 38 men.
But something similar was in Greek, in the ancient Greek or somewhere, Rome. I think there was something similar at the time. Not world, of course, but the country was ruled by select, whatever. It was something, it sounds similar to me. I'm not good in a history anymore, so.
But I think the interesting thing is that democracy doesn't mean what we think it means. And how can that be?
Expand on that, please.
And we think of democracy as something that we're a part of, that we have a say in. And I don't think it's quite true. We don't really have a say in anything, but we can vote. But again, we don't choose who we vote for. That's done by others. All we can do is vote for those that we're allowed to vote for. And so I think that what democracy is doing is fooling us into thinking we have far more freedom than we actually do.
Wasn't there somebody who said that that democracy was the worst form of government, except it's better than every other one? And so to say that it's fooling that it's fooling us in some way really says democracy should be. Pure democracy is like this. And see, we don't have that. And yet when we start talking about what should be, and that's a word that I've taken out of my vocabulary, should. Because when you say should, then you're making a judgment, and you are putting your concept of the world as what everybody else should follow. So I don't use the word should, but when you talk about normalization, that screams the word should, because somehow you are enforcing on other people what you think that they should do. You're casting judgment, and you're putting your worldview as superior to everybody else's.
You know, during the preparation for the next Industry 5.0 newsletter, I came across two things. One, I found a company called Research Napster Analytics, which completely stole my work. Even without changing the words, they place it on their website without reference, without anything, and they write about Industry 5.0. They add something which are lies, but 30% of the text is my own. So I started the first trial generally against them because they are breaching the intellectual property and authorize and everything. And I just came across a few minutes before we started with one employee, which is still listed on the company website. And he said, no, I'm not there anymore. I left the company. And the crazy part, he said, but if you want, because they produce reports and they sell it. And he said, I left the company, but I have some reports with me. So if you would like to, I can sell it to you. So, that's crazy. And the second was, I came across a organization, or I don't know whether it's a group organization. I don't know. They are called something for digital, and they have a very interesting motto. They say, "Go digital or die." And immediately came to my mind following sentence. You know, in the history, when we look for resources, we have been the one who look for resources, who use them. But in the world of technology, artificial intelligence, ChatGPT, and all the others, we become a resource. So I change it because if the artificial intelligence learn how humans behave, so it will learn that after resources are not needed, they will be wasted. So I changed this motto: go digital and die, because we will not be needed, because we are one of the resources. It came to my mind, and I have to write it down generally. So the article today, I think, was about this. But it is so interesting that we change from the hunter to prey, generally, but in a way of resources, so speaking. And it's interesting that the open AI just now, it's because there is a they came to the judge generally because they use the intellectual property of other people without paying it and so on to teach the artificial intelligence. And their excuse was, we cannot teach artificial intelligence without this knowledge. And they put it as an excuse. That was really, really crazy. So I'm looking forward how it will go, but I realize that we become the resource. And this is, I think, is the first time in history, because we never had this intellectual part of the machines and technology. And currently in LA, I think, or Las Vegas, I don't know where it goes, is the CES exhibition. And majority of those are related to artificial intelligence.
But if you want to have a bit of fun linking the two together, when the ancient Rome became a republic, then of course they had to listen to the voice of the people, which then came the expression, it's something like vox populi, vox diaboli. The voice of the people is the voice of the devil. And in a modern context, the voice of AI is the voice of the devil.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's just a gathering of everything with an application of nothing.
And what is interesting that really the AI, I haven't met a single, and I met a lot of these already, not a single one which has really full access to internet. Every single one is limited by the owner to specific field. And they reply usually, if you ask something outside of their source, sorry, we have a limited source of information, we cannot answer this question. But many people think that AI is automatically going to internet. But it's not. It's not collecting the data there. It's it's picking up. So it's collecting generally what the owner says, which means we spoke before we started about the weather. If they would like to have a weather forecast for 1 hour, running for 1 hour on a TV show, it will pick up just the disasters. And they can speak for 1 hour about disasters. They can speak for the whole day probably about it. So everybody was thinking that's the end of the world, and these are your words, Bill. So it's quite interesting how the uniformity and let's say normalization, how all this stuff become normal. It's so fast that I think that, for example, we cannot wait for the decision of a judge for a year or 3 years. No, it must be done in 1 week time. It is so. just one of the result when I wrote to the CEO of this research company was that he deleted his profile from LinkedIn, and this should be the solution. Great.
And actually, think of normality. I got this thing on my computer on Monday morning, and it said your average screen time for the week is below 10 hours a day. And I was so proud of myself. It's, I think 10 years ago, if someone told me you would spend 10 hours a day at a computer screen, I would never believe them. That would never happen.
Well, that's a good point, Kevin, because what is normal today is going to be abnormal tomorrow or an hour from now. Things are happening so quickly, and there's such catastrophic events that are happening. Not just the weather, but I'm thinking mainly of man-made. And so normalcy today will be redefined just by the passage of time.
Do you think we can do it? We can be the force?
We can be the force
The question
to
is,
change normalcy?
Yes, if we can define the new normal. You, me, Kevin. For me, new normal is wasteless work. You know, I came to the office at 4 in the morning. I don't put the light on. Why should I? The computer screen is shining enough. I don't need light. This is the only moment when I put my light on in the office because of this talk. Otherwise, it will be too dark. But I don't light on. Simply, I don't do it. It becomes new normal for me.
I think there's some scary new normals. The fact that every year will be hotter than the year before. That is, for us, that's a new normal. But for our children, it will be everyday normal. And so we can react to it because there is a shock value to us that won't be there for them. And so part of normalizing is not accepting. In fact, that the use of normalization is to be able to say, no, we won't accept this. We won't let this become normal.
It's, you remember I told you that I asked Antonio Guterres to include, or United Nations generally, to include 31st article in this General Human Rights Declaration, the right not to waste. Of course, no reply, but I asked him recently another one, the right not to be online. Or, no, I call it the right to disconnect, the right to disconnect. It will be very interesting. Of course, no reply, so I don't expect any. But I think that the global, the General Human Rights Declaration should be longer. Among other things, it was written in 1948. So why it should remain the same? Not speaking about the fact that it was never kept, so it's just another thing. But I think it's time to add, at least, because the other points are not bad. If they will be kept, they are absolutely right. But they are not. So they break, the United Nations help to break them themselves because of inaction generally, or the lack of action. I just saw recently the report of the finance, I don't know how it's called, this guy. He is responsible for the finances within United Nations. And there was a video. I will share it with you. I think I have it in the next newsletter. And for the first time, in 11 years when I watch it, there was about waste prevention. That was nice. Unfortunately, the content was not nice anymore. So because they said, we prevent waste because we have internal controls. That's normal. Everybody have internal control. And what a surprise, it does not work.
You know, it would be really, really interesting to write a 21st century list of fundamental human rights, and especially compare it to, you know, what was written in the 40s. I think my first one would be, we have the right to use cash. I think that to prevent governments from giving us digital money is so important, which even 20 years ago wasn't even a threat on the horizon, but suddenly it's an extreme threat.
I have a proposal. Let's write it together. It must not be long, you know. The original one has 30 bullets. Let's have this or less. Let's write it together. Let's publish it. In Industry 5.0, we publish a lot of things. So let's do it together. Because, you know, if we don't do it, nobody will do it. So let's us to be the first one. Whether it will be adopted or not, it's another thing, but somebody must came with it. And that's important.
And the interesting thing is to compare the two to see how the world has changed and see what the new threats are and where those threats are coming from. And most of them are coming from technology and the giants, I'm sure. The governments don't seem to be as much as a threat as they were when the original Declaration of Human Rights was written. Now it's more organizations and the giants that are posing the new threats. And we definitely need rights against them.
Okay, so we agreed. Sorry. Bill, you are too silent today. Too many thoughts, probably.
My wife and I are still recovering from Mr. COVID. So, but that's a fascinating idea, and if we don't do it, who will? And that would be very interesting to compare it to 1948's list of human rights.
My recommendation, if we write it, don't look at the original.
No.
Let's look at it at the end. Yeah. Of course, we have. Let's see. At least we have some image about it because we have learned it somewhere in the head. It is, but let's do it without it. Let's do it without, and then compare it, and let's see what came out. Because it's 3 countries, 2 continents. I think it's a good basic.
When you think historically, what has happened since 1948? How many wars there have been? A complete loss of trust in government, in big organizations, in religion, in all of those standards that helped to guide us, right? You believe the government, you believe the church, you believe so many things that we used as standards, and the standards are gone. So now where are the standards? And is it it's no longer going to be these organizations and these giants who are going to tell us what is right and what is wrong, because we don't trust them anymore.
You know, it's quite interesting that the United Nations has been established in 1945. The declaration was 1948. But what we would like to do, we would like to write the rules first, of course. Because how do you want to set up an organization that should protect? What should United Nations protect if they have no rules? You know, it was done the wrong way, if you consider
Exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. You think the UN was set up after the Second World War to prevent something like that occurring again. So it was a backward-looking organization. Whereas if we're going to write a new Declaration of Human Rights, it is a future-looking declaration, which is totally different. Fundamentally, it's a different way of thinking about human rights. So we're not preventing the past reoccurring. What we want to do is to guarantee a future.
You know what is great about writing it from our position? We are not politicians. We are not giants. You are author, or all of us, we are writing. We look in the future. We even travel to the future, which is a great feeling. And we should really do it this way. You know, during the time, I asked so many times lawyers and impact lawyers and people in this field, can you write a country legislation from zero? They said, no, it's impossible. Why? Forget about everything what you know, write it from zero. I don't care what was there. I don't say that it will not be partly same, because of course some principles remain. We have one head that's remain. We do not have two, and so on. So, but why should I use? You know, I was on a website which advised me to use ChatGPT because I will be 10 times faster. Why should I be 10 times faster? Will my eyes be 10 times faster? No. So we have a short discussion, then the ChatGPT says, sorry, I don't know about it. So for me, normal reply. And we are back to normalization. And we have 2 more minutes to go.
One thing we haven't discussed is there was this nice expression, the new normal. And we certainly are living in that right now.
Yes. And it is used very frequently by politicians and European Commission and so on. They love to speak about new normal. You know, I have learned today that and probably it's a common standard. In European Commission, they have a speech writer as a position. You know, they have speech writers. So this is why the speaker is all the time disconnected from the content. Speech writer. What is the obligation? What is the responsibility? Sorry, I was just a writer. And the speaker, sorry, I was just a speaker. You know, no one has the responsibility. That's so unbelievable.
Yeah, and I may have spoken it, but I didn't write it. So therefore, it's not my words.
Unbelievable. Okay, so last minute to go. What do you want to say at the end of the second Wasteless World Talks?
Don't accept normality.
That's a nice one. And you, Bill?
I would like to see the new normal. I would like to help to create the new normal. I would like to help to create the future. And that's why I enjoy these talks with you, because we are all the time talking about the future.
And we will do it, and we will write the new Humans' Right Declaration together. So thanks a lot, and everyone, have a nice time, free of waste and wasting in all its forms. Stay safe, free, be human, and help us to transfer the new normal into life. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.